Now in today's video, we're going to talk about whether the Kemper profiling amp is still relevant in 2020. Now the reason why I bought the Kemper Profiler was because I needed a solution for my guitar amps that could plug directly into a PA system. Now for me, I'm a live looper, so I do a lot of guitar looping, so I needed a guitar amp that I could plug directly into my loop pedal and then plug that into the front of house speakers. Because the problem is, if I use a traditional amp and I mic that up and then that goes into my loop pedal, I have a problem because I have the room noise of the amp and then also the loop noise of the amp going through the PA speakers. So I need a way to separate that and keep it in an all-in-one setup. And that's what the Kemper Profiler provides, a plug-and-play setup that just works straight out of the box. Now the really cool thing about the Kemper Profiler is it's so easy to set up. You just take it out your bag, you plug it in, and then you have so many different amplifiers to actually choose from. Now on my head right here, I think I have something like 2,000 or 2,400 amplifiers booted into this single amp head. And this is fantastic because it provides you with insane versatility. You can go from all the super clean tones with like a Vox style amp or like a Fender twin style reverb amplifier, all the way through to super extreme, over distorted and high gain sounds like Mesa Boogie, even Marshall amplifiers, whether that be Plexi or JCM 800s or the Jubilee style amps, whatever amps you want to load in onto the head, you can pretty much get a sound for any genre. Now for me, the style of guitar tones that I really enjoy are classic rock overdriven tones. And in order to replicate and recreate these, you have to crank an amplifier extremely loud in order to get it to naturally break up and get that authentic classic rock sound. The problem is, you have to have the amplifiers extremely loud. You can have a multitude of different problems with this. One, get sound complaints depending on where you're actually using the amplifier, whether it be in your bedroom or your garage or whatever. And two, it's not exactly the best for your healthy ears. So for me, having the digital amplifier, I can practice as loud or as quiet as I like, and it's fantastic. I can plug headphones in and I have all the different Marshall tones that I would want to dream up, or I could plug it into a PA speaker or even an actual guitar amplifier. Now there's a variety of different styles of Kemper profiling heads that you can actually pick up. Now this one right here is a powered head, and what this means is you can plug this into a traditional guitar cabinet and you can use this like a normal guitar amplifier head. The cool thing is this is a 600 watt powered head, which is insanely loud. It's pretty overkill in my honest opinion. Now, what you can do is, you don't have to buy this style of Kemper. There's a variety of different shapes and sizes. Now, the cheapest being is actually the Kemper floor unit. You can pick this up for about £1,389. And what you get is, you get basically the Kemper head and the Kemper floor foot remote combined in one little unit that you can put on the floor. In my opinion, this is probably the most versatile rig for someone that wants to use this setup in a live situation. Now the next option you can actually pick up is for people that want to use this in a studio environment, and that's the Kemper rack mount. And you can pick the powered rack mount up for about £1,799 here in the UK. And then the final option that you can get is the one you see right here. This is the toaster head that people refer to it as. Apparently it looks like a toaster or whatever, but this gives you a few extra controllers on the top, which is why I picked it up. You get a few extra like reverb, mix, and time options over here, so you get a little bit more controls on the surface of the actual rig. And I also got it with the foot remote, so I could use it with a footboard. And I think it's essential in order to get the most out of your Kemper Profiler to actually have the foot remote so you can switch between different profiles and things like that. So for that, with the powered head and the foot remote, you're looking at over £2,199, which is very, very expensive, which then raises the question once again, is this technology actually worth it in 2020? Now this might sound a little bit crazy, but I personally do think that the Kemper Profiler has made me a better guitarist. Overall, it's just broadened my horizons as a guitar player in general. Now, previously, I'm going to be really honest, when I used to be a guitarist plugging into a normal amplifier when I was a little bit younger, I was actually quite scared of the amplifier. I was always worried about if I messed about with the gain too much or the volume too much, it was going to feedback and suddenly I know it was going to destroy my hearing because I did something wrong with a really loud amp. Whereas because the Kemper Profiler has beautiful sound level controls, you can control the master level and then you can mess about with everything else, that worry disappeared. So this allowed me to really play about with different styles of guitar tone, adding gain, removing gain, pushing different types of the preamps in different ways without worrying about damaging my hearing, which was very interesting. And also, from another perspective, because it has so many different presets and also really good third-party amp profiles that you can buy, this allows you to have a plethora of different awesome sounding amplifier tones that have been manufactured and made to perfection for specific styles of guitar. So if you have no idea how to get a specific style of tone, like how to get Slash's Guns N' Roses tone or Angus Young's AC/DC tone, you can buy presets that have been made by fans online, load them into the unit, and then suddenly you can play Black in Black just like AC/DC. That was something that's awesome, especially if you're in a covers band. You can buy specific signature style tones that people have made online, and suddenly you have that exact guitar tone in your covers act. Now for me, there are quite a few cons with the actual Kemper Profiler, and one of the major ones is actually the user interface for setting up things like effects. So if you're trying to load in guitar pedals like an overdrive pedal or like a delay, for example, I find it a very convoluted and overcomplicated menu system. It almost feels like it's different every single time. You kind of like boot up a delay, for example, and it presents you with a load of different presets that you're never going to be interested in or ever going to use in your rig, and you're like scrolling through everything, and it just seems to take forever to actually create the sound you want to. I just don't like it. It's just too complicated. Something else that I found quite restrictive with the Kemper Profiler is the fact you can only use one profile at any given time. So that's only one amplifier at once. Whereas with newer amplifier tech that's coming into the market, like the Neural Quad Cortex, that allows you to use 4 amplifier presets simultaneously. So you could have 4 different amps loaded in on that little modeling amp unit, and you can use them all at once, which allows you to do crazy sounds. Whereas the Kemper, you can only use one at a time, which is where it lends itself more to studio applications. Another thing that's missing on the Kemper Profiler is the fact there's no audio via USB functionality. Now with the Line 6 Helix, you can plug that amplifier unit into your computer via USB and you can use it as an audio interface. So for example, you could record all of your guitar parts with the Line 6 Helix directly into the computer, whereas with the Kemper Profiler, if you try and plug it into your computer via USB, it only allows you to back up the unit via Rig Manager and also, update it, for example, which is really strange, and such a shame that that feature isn't present, because it just means when you use it in the studio, you have to set up loads of cables and things for no reason when you could just plug it in via a single USB cable. The next thing that I don't really like with my Kemper Profiler in particular is the fact it's in 2 parts. Now this problem has been counteracted with the brand new floorboard unit which is available, but for me I just find it really annoying that I have to bring the Kemper head and the Kemper foot remote in 2 separate parts and plug it in via an internet style cable, because this is just screaming for that moment when you forget the cable and then you bring the foot remote and the head, but then you forgot the internet cable. The amount of times I've triple checked, 10 times checked that I have that cable is absolutely crazy. I just wish, like with the Line 6 Helix and the Quad Cortex and even the newer version of the Kemper as well, I just like it all being in one unit so you don't have to worry about anything silly like that. Now, a major con that I want to address with the Kemper Profiler is actually how it responds to an alternative guitar. Now, my primary guitar is a Gibson Les Paul, and it has the original pickups from when it came out in like 1977 and something like that. Now, my secondary guitar is a Flying V. And the pickups on the Flying V are much hotter, and also the EQ on them are much more mid-heavy. Now, when I plug that into a preset orientated around my Les Paul, it really throws the Kemper Profiler off, and it sometimes bears hardly any resemblance to the original tone. And obviously this would happen on a traditional amplifier, it would respond differently, but I feel like the digital Kemper profile head exaggerates the problem. It just seems to be where you have to make a totally brand new preset with crazy different settings in order to have something that resembles the original Les Paul tone, which makes it very difficult when you have multiple different guitars and you're trying to switch between like your backup guitar and you snap a string during a set, but all of your guitars are kind of slightly different. Now, there are some settings on the Kemper Profiler inside of the menus that you can change for this happening, but it just doesn't really do it the way that I wished. Now, to answer the question in this video, I think we actually need to talk about the future of guitar amplifier modeling technology. And in my opinion, I really think Kemper needs to create a Kemper 2.0. Now, I was super excited for all of the teasers they were announcing for the Kemper floorboard not too long ago. But then when it came into fruition and people started buying it and I could see demos of it, and I found out it was just this Kemper that I have right here in a brand new case, I was extremely disappointed because I felt like they could have really progressed the product even further than the original one, which has remained the same for almost 10 years. Now, to be honest, I can really see the Kemper Profiler in the future being a studio-only amplifier for me. I do still think it's relevant in 2020, and I think if you were to pick one of these up, you'd be extremely pleased with what you've bought. Sound-wise, the actual user experience and the feature set on the amp is absolutely exceptional. But to be honest, I can really see at the end of this year, the Neural Quad Cortex replacing this amplifier on my live setup. It's just smaller, it's more compact, it's lighter, it has everything that the Kemper has in a tinier package, and also the foot remote is combined with the actual amplifier head. So I no longer have to set up the amp and also bring the foot remote with me additionally. So it just is going to be a way more convenient, more powerful, and smaller solution. It's kind of a no-brainer for my live setup. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think the Kemper Profiler is still relevant? Are there any other solutions that I haven't mentioned? I'm really excited for the Neural Quad Cortex. I'm seriously so excited to pick one up. I do still think the Kemper Profiler is relevant, but in a different way, in a more studio-orientated way, whereas the Quad Cortex is going to take the crown for my live setup. But as always, I've been Ben Rollins. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.